Hello and welcome back to TESOL with Miki and Ida. I'm Ida, an applied linguist, and in this first episode of Academic Communication series, I'm going to talk about the first key difference between language testing type of communication and real academic communication. Now, in the previous video, I asked you a question. Do you think language tests like IELTS prepare students for real academic communication? Well, unfortunately, not really, at least not fully. And the reason for that is, if you think about the purpose of a test like IELTS, is to measure language proficiency, while academic communication is a whole different. And that brings me to the first key difference between language testing type of communication and academic communication, and that's the purpose. So, IELTS, like I said, tests whether students have basic English language knowledge in order to survive in an English-speaking context. In academia, the purpose of communication is to engage with literature and research in order to gain some knowledge and use that knowledge to create well-reasoned arguments. Let's use an analogy to better understand the differences. If we think about academic context as a colony of ants. So the academic community is like a colony of ants in which each member contributes to sharing and building knowledge. In this colony, experienced academics and researchers are like worker ants. They create theories, publish their research, and guide others. And in doing that, they create pathways for others to use. Now, students and novice scholars start by following these pathways, and over time, they start exploring new ideas, perhaps challenging the previous ones, and eventually create new pathways for the next generation of members of academic community to follow. So just like colony of ants, in which ants carry food much larger than their size, in an academic context, members of the community need each other's contribution in order to collaborate and discuss to push knowledge forward. So nobody works alone, and everyone's contribution helps the whole colony thrive. IELTS, on the other hand, is not like a community of scholars. It's not a discourse community. It's more like an entry check to check whether students have the basic knowledge to survive communicating within an academic context. So while IELTS can get students into academia, it doesn't really integrate them into that context. In order to become an active member of the community, each member, whether they're students or experienced academics, needs to engage, contribute, and adapt to the academic communication. Now, within this overall goal or purpose, which is to engage with knowledge, share knowledge, and contribute to the formation of new knowledge, each member will communicate in a certain way because each member of the community, students, early career researchers, experienced researchers, would produce different types of work, written or spoken, and for that there are specific purposes. So for example, if a student at postgraduate level is required to write an essay, that essay has a particular goal or particular purpose. That is, for example, in the case of a postgraduate student, to really provide evidence of learning. So I need to show that I have learned a particular topic. And in order to do that, I need to engage with the relevant research and literature, like I said, to form a well-reasoned argument. But then I also need to consider the audience to whom I am writing or I am speaking. And that brings me to the next key difference, which is audience. And I'm going to unpack this key difference in the next episode. In the meantime, please do let me know if you had any experience of preparing for language tests and whether you have thought about the purpose of, for example, the writing task that you were asked to do or the speaking task, or if you've had students and if you've ever thought about the purpose of the type of communication that you were asked to be involved with at university. I'd love to hear about you and your experiences. And in the meantime, if you want to get more content like this, don't forget to follow us and to subscribe. And I will see you in the next episode. Thank you.